Welcome to the Gentleman's Guide to the Accursed. You know, there's an old saying among my kind. If you want to know something, ask a Nephilim. If you have a secret, you don't want anyone else to know about it, tell a Nephilim. But what does that mean? Well, you see, there are many knowledge seekers, information brokers, those who hunt down mysteries among the accursed. It's our main trade and fare, quite frankly. It's how we might alleviate our curses. It's how we may gain more curses and therefore with them additional power. There are few who master the art of intelligence quite so elegantly as the Nephilim. They have made an entire industry of it, though it isn't corporatized. It isn't like a factory. Theirs is an art. You see, when a Nephilim develops even the kernel of a secret in their mind, well, like bloodhounds they are, they will not stop sniffing corners, puddles, undergarments, wherever they need to go to find the truth of the matter. Well, maybe not undergarments for all of them, but the point being, they adore secrets. They love the hunt. They are, as investigators, par excellence. You see, in the old days, if you had gold, you would find the bank with the thickest vault, and you would put your gold there, safe in the assurance that no one will be able to capture it. And this is perhaps where the Nephilim really come into their own, because more than just trackers, they are also protectionists. They are people to whom you will divulge your secrets, knowing that they will keep them safe. But why, you might ask, if you have a secret that is so important, would you tell anyone? Surely you would just keep it in your head, because the best secret is the one that you keep to yourself. If we may walk off on a tangent briefly, have you heard of the ascetics? They're one of the hungry families, less known than the Iscariots. They are known as memory thieves. You see, with the right code phrase, an ascetic can make you divulge your memory, your secrets. They will start spilling from your lips and you will not even know why. Some ascetics are so advanced they can just delve into your mind without the invitation. There are other families too, the spawn of Vodnik. They will use slightly more brutal methods than the ascetics to obtain the information they're seeking. The Raptors, similar but more vicious methods, and don't let me get started on how the archivists accumulate their intelligence on people and places, because that can get truly macabre. Have you ever heard of examining someone's entrails for prophecy? Well, anyway. Where does this leave the Nephilim? Well, you see, the Nephilim, while they may not be trustworthy inherently, they do recognize the value in keeping secrets, and in that, the value they can earn by doing so. There is something of a rivalry these days between the Nephilim and the archivists, for this matter. That's a family of sorcerers, with, I understand, the archivists developing one hell of a trove on the East Coast. The Nephilim, you divulge your secrets to them. They don't keep things on servers. They do it old school. Quill, ink. They pen them, stuff them away into a safe made of titanium and some other non-terrestrial substance, and you know that the Nephilim will protect that with their life. The archivists are doing a similar thing, similar but different, on the east coast of the United States of America right now, and at some point the two are going to clash. It's going to be a conflict of interest, and I will not want to be caught in the middle of that, except maybe as an observer, when we see one of these data centers breached by the other. I mean, can you imagine being at the forefront when all those secrets flood out and fill your mind? Well, anyway, back to the Nephilim. Yes, it's perhaps best to see them as dedicated investigators. Among the outcasts, few approach this ability. I sometimes draw a comparison to them and the black monks of old who would wander around medieval Europe, providing salves, balms to people when they were so lost spiritually and materially. They had been betrayed by a neighbour, or they felt that God's love was absent. The black monks would appear, they would assist, and then they would move on. But that is a link we'll delve into deeper because I have a specific example in a moment. The Nephilim origins are, of course, tied to the outside, from which they were banished centuries ago for crimes elusive to me. I mean, I've heard the rumours, I'm sure you've all heard the rumours, surrounding their discovering one of the Archon's hidden shames, something relating to fathering children with a mortal. That bloodline still apparently strong. The Nephilim discovered this, so keen are they toward the spread of secrets, and this came out and they were banished. Of course, I've also heard tell that they saw a battleground designed for the future of humanity, so dismal, so devious and destructive that they could not be allowed to remain within the outside. Indeed, they refused to remain there, and so were banished to our world, the memory stripped from most of their minds. The last tale I was told was that the Nephilim, of course so skilled in navigating the battlegrounds, those outside liminal spaces, that they found permanent doors to long ago epochs. Sometimes called epochs. I always preferred epochs. I don't know about you. Many accursed have sought these tormented spaces, these time-locked zones, but many Fae would rather we don't know of them at all. And so the Nephilim were banished. Whatever the truth of it, the Nephilim became outcasts. Ask them, and they were among the first to do so. And also among the first to go crawling back to their outsider masters. You see, for the longest time, the Nephilim were no friends to their fellow accursed. Oh, absolutely not. The Nephilim's turn to our side, as it were, is a relatively recent beat in history. They were loyalists, eager to serve the Archons and punish those who meddled with curses and liminalities. They did so in garish fashion, trying to draw attention to themselves, and as if melting a person and saying, "Daddy, do you love me now?" isn't just sad and pathetic as a way of earning approval. Sick, too. Well, it took time, but eventually the Nephilim, they got the hint, most of them. There was no going back. They weren't going to be accepted into the outside. They were outcast. And so the vast majority, not all, but the vast majority became apostates. And that was a badge they wore proudly. They are the Nephilim we know now. Partly out of their drive to do what they're good at, but mostly fueled by spite. Those secrets and lies that are laced into liminal spaces, into the outside, well, the Nephilim strip mine them now. So instead of now looking up to Daddy and saying, "I want your approval," they are ripping them away and saying, "Look what you lost. Along with us, look what we're taking from you." You know, I once spoke to a Nephilim, Cassandra, her name was. She said, "If we're not good enough for the outside, well, let's see how the Archons manage in a roof with no tiles and no copper wiring." I'm not sure entirely what she meant, other than to say, yes, you might cast us out, but you are casting out that which keeps you warm, informed, insulated. You get the idea, maybe. Among the outcasts, the Nephilim are the most family. They're all linked by blood, near as I can tell, with no marriages no adoptions to become one. There are some outcast families where you could theoretically stumble into becoming one. The Munificents, I understand, are quite prone to this, that you make the wrong deal or the right one, and that could become your outcast family, even from a position of orphanist or an outcast from another family. Not so with the Nephilim. They are dedicated to tracing their line back to their family head, and they do so eagerly. Their chronicle, as they call it, is a physical document. It is fragile. I've seen it. It is remarkable. A scroll that stretches back centuries. A family tree that is really quite stunning. Or at least it would be were it not for the League of the Hidden Crossroads, one of the other outcast families who, for reasons unknown to me, it's some outcast thing, wanted and succeeded partly to destroy this Chronicle of Ages. They burned it. How they accessed the Nephilim's vault, I do not know. This may have been back when the Nephilim were on the wrong side of history, as it were. But the League of the Hidden Crossroads put it to the flame before they were driven back into the battlegrounds and elsewhere. The Nephilim recovered what they could, and the Chronicle does still exist in major form. It still has the first 150 years of ages, and then there's a gap of somewhere around 300 years, and then it continues. And so when the family gatherings occur for the Nephilim, you can meet people whose names you have seen recorded centuries before, because of course the outcasts don't deal with the same issues of aging as some. But there are others. They call themselves the families of the Burned Scroll, or Burnt Scroll, depending on where they're from. And they are still Nephilim. They still have the same inheritances, the same torments. But their lineage is slightly more hazy. And I'm told that if you speak to the right Nephilim, if you pay the right fee, you can get added as a provisional Burned Scroll Nephilim. It becomes very muddy at a certain point, but again, as a family, they are, at least up front, about being bound by blood as well as curse and damnation. I mentioned the Black Monks earlier. It was centuries ago that I encountered a Nephilim who actually went by that epithet, literally just the Black Monk. Very striking, I'm sure you'll agree. He travelled the world in his cassock and cowl, his gaze cast downward, his brow furrowed in concentration. He somehow knew exactly where the next world-shaking secret would be. And by world-shaking, it could be world-shaking for an individual, for a society, for the world entire. But secrets with great tectonic effects, emotionally or physically. And so he would be constantly making a beeline toward these secrets. I do not know if he had this network of informants across the world or if he just had a nose for it, but I remember being with him once when he presented himself, and he would do this. He would walk in through people's front doors without invitation. They would wake up to find him stood at the foot of their bed. Sometimes he would stride brazenly into throne rooms and present himself to the king. And this is how I saw him do it. He would cast his hood back, reveal his perfect features as if etched into deepest mahogany, and his eyes would burn with an intense deep red, like blood boiling. And he would say to a secret keeper in that audience, "Gift your tale to me, alone, and you might see the heavens. Retain it, and surely you will feel the hells." Those addressed would remark that they didn't see the same person. I did. All I could see was a handsome, albeit incredibly intense, black man who could stare unblinking into the souls of those to whom he was addressing. But the secret keeper, described a clockwork assembly of gears and spokes. Someone else referred to a beast composed of something between raven and lion, and another a magnificent monstrosity of eyeballs, bones, and threads of flesh. I don't know where she got that from. But we know that some who yield the information, because this is what I witnessed, will go on to a life of contentment and happiness. The king, who spoke to the Black Monk at that time, was one, well, should I name drop? Well, there we go. Yes, I think I will. a king by the name of Charles II. You may have heard of him. He was, let's say, down on his luck, but ultimately came to a certain fruition, a giddy height. Charles II of England, of course, and Scotland, among other countries. Now, there are others, however, who spoke up and became so filled with shame that they ultimately ended their lives. When I asked the black monk about this, what happened to them, did you not promise them a bright and wonderful future, he would reply, and he did in his trademark humour. He only said they might see the heavens. Now, in the case of those who refuse his entreaty, I am given to understand they just disappear. Now, I have suspicion that such individuals resultantly end up entrapped in a liminality, but not a unique one. Everyone who refuses the black monk ends up in the same liminal space, in a place that is constructed from each of their secrets, and it grows more and more elaborate. All of these people entrapped and tormented by their own secrets, their own shames. Still, I get on well with him, and he always buys his round, so worth speaking to the black monk if you ever see him in a local pub or bar. If you ask me, these people who he addressed should have consulted a lawyer beforehand. And, well, Cassandra Billings. She's a Nephilim who will handle your secrets, keep them quiet, and find juicy morsels to expose the secrets of others. She charges a high fee, but what Nephilim doesn't? Her stance is you can't scrimp when it comes to quality service, and on that I'm sure we all agree. The service she provides, well, it's unparalleled in this world and many others. Just make sure you pay her fees on time. She has inventive ways of extracting late payment. Now, as we wrap up our little guide to the Nephilim, I should say that the Curseborne Kickstarter only has 3 days left as of time of recording. It is due to close on Thursday, the 31st of October, Halloween. Therefore, if what I've been saying is appealing, interesting, entertaining to you, if you like my work appears in this book. I am one of its co-writers. I have written on a lot of it. I have supervised a lot of the writing on it, so if you enjoy my work, now is the best time to get in. We want to hit as many stretch goals as we can before the campaign comes to its close. So please do check out the Curseborne Kickstarter. I will ensure that the link is in the video description below. Remember, if you can't back for a physical copy, you can back for a PDF. And if you can back for a physical copy, consider checking out the deluxe version with the slipcase and the making of book. You can even get ivory bone colour dice with it that are specially themed for Curseborne, along with a beautiful story guide screen and all of the stretch goals that we're unlocking as we go. But there's only 3 days left to do so, so do it before you miss out, or I will send the Black Monk to you to ask you the question of why you didn't back. Thank you very much for watching.